And from Pakistan, we turn to its godfather, the People's Republic of China. It is reeling under a new challenge, a challenge that concerns its military. The People's Liberation Army, the world's largest fighting force with over 2 million active personnel. Turns out, its size is only a facade to hide its strengths, because the PLA is facing a shortage of efficient troops. I am not saying this, the PLA itself is. That's right. In a rare show of candor, the PLA has admitted that it is facing a lingering talent shortage. A shortage of troops and personnel with high-tech expertise. The report emerged in the South China Morning Post. It was based on an assessment by the PLA Daily, that's the propaganda mouthpiece of the Chinese army. And here are the revelations made in the assessment. To start with, it says that top commanders within the PLA are yet to complete a basic training test. And this includes the vice captain of a Chinese warship. His name is Wang Yubing, and he is one of the several naval soldiers whose training is still not over, yet he has been made the vice captain. Revelation number 2, there is a shortage of adequately skilled personnel to operate newly enlisted ships and high-tech hardware. A situation the report has framed as, quote-unquote, equipment awaiting talent. It says that in recent years, a number of old ships have been retired and a host of new ships have been commissioned. But there are very few people who know how to operate them. And this has made the problem of equipment awaiting talent increasingly severe. On to revelation number 3, there is a training resources imbalance within the PLA. It is unable to organize training of some key commanders and some key soldiers systematically. Due to this, final training assessments are running much behind schedule. And this is embarrassing to say the least. One of the world's largest fighting forces, which likes to call itself superior to everybody else, which does not hesitate in threatening its neighbors, does not have the troops with the required skill sets or experience. And this only punctures China's arguments about the might of the PLA. But the question is, what explains this? Why is the PLA in such an abysmal condition? Why is it facing a shortage of good talent? Well, there are a host of reasons. The first one is conscription. You see, military service is mandatory for all Chinese citizens. The practice of conscription is held high even in the Chinese constitution. But the conscription cycle comes with its own set of challenges. The PLA is set to rely on approximately 800,000 conscripts that have to serve for a period of 2 years. And each conscript is trained for 90 days, along with 16 days of political indoctrination. And due to this policy, the forces lose 20 to 35% of their combat power for a period of 3 to 4 months annually. In other words, it recruits heavily but fails to retain professionals. And the second big challenge is recruiting and retaining the qualified personnel. China's army recruits a higher number of poor youth from rural backgrounds. They join for the perks. The educated city dwellers tend to leave the army, and experts blame the one-child policy for this, a policy which is set to produce pampered children who cannot withstand the military discipline. When in the army, they are dissatisfied, the post-service perks are few, and this weakens the force by depriving it of high-quality professionals. Challenge number 3, civilian oversight. The PLA is characterized by extremely weak civilian control. There is an almost total absence of civilian oversight. The only civilian in the military's chain of command is said to be the chairman of China's Central Military Commission. President Xi Jinping himself. And this leads to rampant corruption and allows the PLA to demand and spend its budget without accountability. There is no discussion or debate over the levels of allocations, funding, or PLA strategies in the National People's Congress. And challenge number 4 being insufficient training. Beijing's propaganda videos of the PLA don't quite tell you the real story. They gloss over the fact that China's soldiers undergo insufficient training in conditions that are not challenging enough. In fact, military exercises are not seen as a chance to identify problems. The aim is to always succeed. And this reduces the military training into opportunities to impress the superiors. These headlines tell you the story. The military's orienteering team was disqualified for cheating at the Military World Games held in China last year. And in 2015, Chinese troops, as part of a UN peacekeeping force in Sudan, are said to have fled the battlefield rather than engage in combat. So it comes as no surprise that the PLA is facing a shortage of talent. Why would it not? When it is burdened with such organizational problems and riddled with such inefficiencies. It is neither perfect nor invincible and definitely cannot be capable enough of taking on the Indian Army. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.